Welcome to Nisreen's Art World. I'm a dancer and a visual artist with a background in graphic art and psychology. In this podcast, I'll be exploring a variety of topics, from book reviews to dance analysis, through an artistic lens. I hope you enjoy the journey. Hello, this is Nisreen. Welcome to the first episode of Season 2 of my podcast. I am so happy to be back. How have you all been? Today's topic is, do Japanese people really cheat? I know it sounds a bit like clickbait, but I assure you I am serious. And yes, it is related to art. For those of you who don't know, I am Japanese and currently living in the US. The other day, I stumbled across a video by a Japanese YouTuber who seemed really concerned about a stereotype circulating online, that Japanese people, particularly women, are untrustworthy and more prone to infidelity. To be honest, this stereotype isn't new to me. When I lived in Tokyo, I'd often hear similar comments among expats. At the time, I brushed it off. But after seeing the YouTuber's video and a little casual Googling of Japanese cheating, I realized just how widespread this perception has become. There are tons of articles and street interview videos aimed at non-Japanese audiences discussing how cheating is supposedly normalized in Japanese society. That got me thinking, is there any evidence that Japanese people are more likely to cheat? Well, the short answer is no. A study from 2020 found that 20% of married people in Japan admitted to cheating on a partner. Considered by gender, 40% of married men and less than 20% of married women admitted to affairs. In another poll, around 28% of men in general and about 22% of women said they'd cheated. For comparison, studies by Pew Research and the Institute of Family Studies found that 19% of British people and about 16% of Americans admitted to cheating on a spouse. So, statistically, Japan's infidelity rate isn't particularly high. This aligns with my own experience growing up in Japan. I remember multiple celebrities and politicians being publicly shamed and blacklisted after being caught cheating, especially if the cheater was a woman. Infidelity in modern Japanese society doesn't seem normalized to me at all. However, things get a little more complex when we dive deeper into the statistics. According to Pew Research, about 60% of Japanese respondents said that cheating is morally unacceptable. This is similar to places like Germany, Italy, and Spain. However, compared to the US, where 84% of people classified affairs as morally wrong, Japan's number isn't quite as high. Gaijin Pot author Whitney Hubbell, in one of her articles, points out that there's a unique cultural expectation towards marriage in Japan that might also play into this perception. Quote, to many in Japan, marriage is still a social contract, and people are expected to marry by their early 30s. Additionally, many people in Japan tend to stay married, whether or not their partner cheats. Though hard to measure, Japan's divorce rate is slightly lower than many Western countries and its neighbor, China. One crucial element of Japanese culture is a desire to maintain peace, which has resulted in gaman culture, referring to the Japanese word for endurance. This general sentiment is behind many of Japan's issues, such as people dealing with long overtime hours. It can also explain why people tend to stay in their marriages even if a partner cheats or the marriage becomes sexless. Unquote. This analysis rings true to me. Although infidelity is considered unethical in Japan, there's also a deep sense of pessimism about marriage embedded in the culture. It reminded me of two beautiful contemporary manga that perfectly capture the social pressure from a Japanese woman's perspective. For those of you interested in a deeper social commentary beyond the stereotype of Japanese women are cheaters, I'd recommend reading these two works. The first is 1122 for a Happy Marriage by Peko Watanabe, serialized in monthly Morning 2 from 2016 to 2020. The art style is simple but beautifully conveys the inner drama beneath the calm surface of Tokyo life. The story follows Ichiko and Otoya, a married couple who are best friends, but whose sexual and romantic connection is quietly dying. Otoya, fully in love with his mistress Mizuki, no longer sleeps with Ichiko. While Ichiko initially acquiesces of Otoya's affairs, she eventually begins to feel neglected. When she confronts him, Otoya reminds her that she was the one who, having rejected his advances, coldly suggested that he seek out sex service providers or lovers to satisfy his needs. Though Ichiko doesn't even remember saying this, it had deeply wounded Otoya, eroding their relationship over time. While Ichiko's words seem cruel and insensitive, I can easily imagine why some women might say something similar. Her statement reflects two toxic ideas passed down through generations. A. Men aren't supposed to be emotional or romantic. And B. Marriage should be about responsibilities, not love. This manga is about both men and women struggling with such generational trauma and genuine emotional needs. I was particularly impressed by how Ichiko's inner voice is depicted as a little Ichiko, a great example of manga excelling at representing complex emotions. The second manga is Shijukara by Eri Sakai, serialized in Jo from 2018 to 2023. The heroine, Shinobu, is a 40-year-old manga artist quietly grappling with low self-esteem. Her husband, Yohei, has been abusive and even cheated on her when their son was a baby. Their marriage is a traditional so-called marriage of endurance. Sadly, the way Yohei constantly belittles her by calling her Obasan or old woman may resonate with many women in Japan. With its soft, delicate art style, the story follows Shinobu's journey of healing and rebuilding her self-esteem and career as an artist. Along the way, she witnesses and helps with others' healing processes. The romantic and sexual elements of the story are just one part of a large spiritual journey. I particularly appreciated how the author emphasized compassion and integrity through Shinobu's character. The manga also touches on male victims of sexual abuse who are even more marginalized in the society governed by toxic gender norms. Although these works are fictional and contain some fantastical elements, they offer a realistic observation of Japanese society and its social issues. I will link to related resources in the blog post accompanying this episode, so please check out these beautiful pieces and let me know what you think. What did you think of today's episode? If you enjoyed it, Please share your thoughts on social media or through the contact form in the description. I'd love it if you left a review as well. Thank you so much for listening, and see you next week.